Larry Tom Davis is a blessed man. Our hearts are full. Our memories are vivid. And for just a few minutes, we want to focus on this man of great Christian faith. We're here to celebrate his life, to keep his memory alive. So let's come together and focus on his words and his actions. Over 3,000 years ago, King David started writing the Psalms. He wrote 72 Psalms. In Psalm 1, verse 1, word 1, King David wrote, blessed. Blessed. Blessed is someone who walks in the path of God. Blessed is a righteous man, a good man, a faithful man. You know that's Tom Davis. That's Tom Davis. After the use of the word blessed, David went on and gave us the description of what it means to be blessed. And it's very simple. It's in just 3 verses, the first 3 verses of Psalm 1. A blessed man has strong, empowering relationships. A blessed man, in David's words, his delight is in the law of the Lord, and he meditates on it day and night. And a blessed man bears fruit. Relationships. Let's talk about Larry Tom's relationships. I was in his presence once when someone asked, what does it take to have a good education? Larry Tom said, there are 3 things. Relationships, relationships, relationships. Relationships between the teacher and the child. Relationships between the teacher and the parent. Relationships between the teacher and other teachers. In his library at home, there's a beautiful book, Living a Life That Matters by Rabbi Kushner. You open up that book, and on the front page of that book is one word in Larry Tom's handwriting. Relationships. The 3 R's, you know them, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Relationships, relationships, relationships were Coach Davis's game plan for life. In terms of relationships, there were 3 types of relationships. Relationships with his family, relationships with his community, and relationships with his church. With his family. If Providence gives you a wish in life, one of the greatest wishes is to have a partner, a spouse, someone to share your life with. Very simply, to love, but also be loved. And Larry Tom had that gift from Providence. In the beautiful reflection that's in your program, Kristen captured Larry's quote, God knew I needed Linda. The first time I saw her, she was for me. I asked Linda if she remembered it that way. She said, not quite. Indeed, she said he had a friend come and asked me if I would go out with Tom. And I told Tom's friend, if Tom Davis wants to go out with me, he can come and ask. Tom, when life was good, when there were great celebrations, when everybody was having a good time, Tom would say, Linda is having a good time. It's a love story they shared for 55 years. A love story of shared values, deep communication, companionship, and fruit. And fruit and fun. Linda, Tom loved you, and he felt your love every day. Simply stated, he was the moth and you were the flame. And he always wanted you around. He wanted your presence. And everyone has witnessed what you and the family have done this last 2 months. We salute you for your care. For 55 years, that's endurance. For 2 months, it's been extraordinary care, and we salute you for that. I could go on with many stories of family relationships. Kristen, Chad, Bobby, Melissa, all the children, each one of you, you know your relationships. There's not enough time, as Kristen said, there's not enough paper and not enough ink to go through it all. but they're your memories that will live forever. And he cherished each one of you, as we just witnessed in this video and the lovely pictures. In terms of his community, Tom Davis gave his life to this community. The last few evenings we've been together, and I've loved coming around and asking each person that I've met, tell me a Tom Davis story. And the Tom Davis story is always about a relationship. One of his buddies said, our relationship was hunting, fishing, and lying. That's what we learned to do together. Tom Davis stories are always full of laughter, joy, and above all, they were empowering relationships. Reflecting on his relationships, there were two thoughts that came to my mind. First, Tom's relationships were relationships of his presence here. You know the expression, I'm going to be there for you? Tom would always be here for you. He would be here. And his other facet of relationships were embracing life together. He loved to tell the story that as a young boy, his mother was very ill, and he was at her bedside, and they were reflecting on their life together. He said, Goggy took his hand and said, Tom, I love you so much, and I'm your mother, and I'll always love you. And she said, what's been the hardest time we've had together? And Tom, it was in the 50s. Lou had been married. His sister Lou was married. She had moved to Oak Ridge. And so it was just Tom and his mother. Hayes was a principal, but he was working in the summer up in East Tennessee. So it was just this mother and a boy not even 10 years old taking care of 25 acres on the farm. And Tom said, life was terrible. It was hard. And Tom says, well, Goggy took my hand and said, Tom, that was the best time in our life together. The reason why is they were together. They were embracing life together. They were facing the challenges together. And you know, that's Tom Davis's story with you. He's been together with you, embracing all the challenges of life. The magic of Tom Davis is that he was a man that could do everything. But he empowered us to feel that we could do anything. Relationships. The second facet in verse 2 of the psalm is that you're a blessed man has delight in the law of the Lord and meditates on it day and night. Tom loved the scriptures. He loved the Bible. If you go to his home, if you pick up any of his books, they're full of highlights, full of notes. And he above all reflected on the scriptures. His faith was very simply stated in 3 words: all for Jesus. That was that was his faith. All for Jesus. It was everything. You just saw him in his own words. And so he lived that faith. He wanted to share the word always. And so I remember 22 years ago, Bobby, you and Melissa got married. And Kristen, at your wedding, everybody knew grandfather was just staying alive to see Chad be so lucky. And, get his granddaughter for a wife. But for Bobby and Melissa, grandfather had passed on. And so Larry Tom wanted to share with everybody something that really meant a lot. So he went to his father's Bible. And he found in his father's Bible a little quote, a little scripture. And Larry Tom made each of us that were guests at the wedding this little piece of paper, and he laminated it. And it says simply from the 12th chapter of Ecclesiastes, verse 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Tom loved the scriptures, and he meditated on it day and night. He'd get up in the middle of the night and read the Bible. He'd read the Bible the first thing in the morning. He would read it through the day. He loved videos. He loved books. Everybody knows that when you picked up one of Tom's books, it was what we call the Daily Double. What's the Daily Double? The Daily Double is you got to see what the author said, but you got to see Tom's reaction to it, Tom's thoughts, Tom's ideas. No better example of this than I was in the home and Cody said, John, have you seen one of the books that Tom has by his bedside? And Cody brought to me One of the books that Tom had at the very end of his life, you talk about a man that's marinated in the Scripture, is Terry Fulham's book, Living the Life of the Lord's Prayer. And you go to page 63 of that book, under the chapter, Thy Will Be Done, one more note in Tom's hand. Just 2 words. Finish strong. Finish strong. Tom Davis finished strong. He finished strong. So I call it the Tom Triangle. Relationships, Scripture, and the last part of the triangle is fruit. Fruit. Because what does it matter? What are the results? I've loved your words as I've moved just meeting you today. And someone said he just had extraordinary impact. He did have. That's fruit. Rabbi Telushkin wrote a lovely little piece, and it said 4 questions God's going to ask you. One question is, what did you do to repair the world? What did you do to make the world a better world? David said the same thing, in that, what fruit did you bear? In the 3rd verse of the psalm, he said, a blessed man is like a tree planted by living waters. He flourishes and bears fruit in season. His leaf never withers. Tom's life was a life that was alive and never withered. His fruit, look around. You're his fruit. You're his stories. Tell his stories. Keep the legacy alive. There's a lovely little poem called Sermons We Live by Edgar Guest. Just the end of it is very simple. And it says, the best of all the preachers are the men who live their creeds. For to see the good in action is what everybody needs. For I may misunderstand you and the high advice you give, but there's no misunderstanding how you act and how you live. Tom Davis's fruit was his example. To me, one of the most important things in cherishing relationships is the questions people ask. And I want to close with sharing with you a question. In the last 2 months, it's been a parade of people from across the land, but particularly from the Valley and from Middlesboro to come. And Linda's been so gracious. She's opened the door, get Tom ready to receive you. You came for 2 reasons. First of all, you wanted to honor Tom. Secondly, you just wanted one more teaching moment with him. And he didn't let you down. What Tom did, he looked at you, and the first thing he did, he called you by the name. And then he took your hand, he looked at you, and listened to the question Tom Davis asked. What can I do for you? What can I do for you? Some people say a legacy is planting seeds for a harvest you'll never see. Not Tom Davis. We are his harvest. We're going to plant some more seeds. And he taught us as we plant seeds and we bring in the harvest, the question to ask for each other. What can I do for you? What can I do for you? Tom Davis, you taught us how to shoot a basketball. You taught us how to catch a fish. You taught us how to care. You taught us how to love. You taught us how to share. You taught us how to laugh. You taught us how to cry. Your example and your inspiration will never die. We weep today, but we go on singing. The sing of gratitude for the blessed man. Larry Tom Davis.